As I stand at the back of the grand venue, my heart swells with a bittersweet mix of pride and heartbreak. The air is thick with the scent of fresh flowers, a symphony of colors decorating the space. And there he is, my son, exchanging vows with his beautiful bride. I can hardly believe how far we've come. Memories flood my mind, his little hands clenching mine as we walked through parks, the laughter echoing in our small home filled with dreams. Now he stands before everyone, a man, ready to start a new chapter, but the joy is tainted by a sharp sting. Moments before the ceremony, I overhear him talking to his friends. "Honestly, she's useless." He laughs, dismissing me as if I were just another guest. The words cut deep, slicing through my heart like a knife. What he doesn't know is that I paid for this entire venue, every single detail, sacrificing my savings for his happiness. I had hoped to be a part of this special day, to support him as he takes this monumental step. But now I feel invisible. I struggle with the urge to confront him, to tell him the truth, to remind him of the countless late nights, the missed opportunities, the sacrifices I made so he could have the life he dreamed of. But I know that wouldn't change anything. Instead, I remind myself of the love that brought us to this moment, the love that never wavered, even when it felt unrecognized. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of my love and contributions hanging in the air. The music begins, soft and sweet, wrapping around us like a warm embrace. I close my eyes for a moment, hoping that somehow, someday, he'll understand the depths of my love. As I watch him gaze into his bride's eyes, I remember the little boy who once believed I was his whole world. I wonder where that connection went, what invisible thread frayed between us. Maybe it was the years of struggle, my battle against the tide of life that wore me down. Or perhaps it was simply him growing up, finding his own path. The ceremony unfolds, and I can't help but smile through my tears. The vows they exchange are beautiful, filled with promises of love and devotion. I want to believe that one day, my son will see that the essence of family is not just about the blood that runs through our veins, but the sacrifices made, the moments shared, and the love that binds us together. As they seal their vows with a kiss, I feel a flicker of hope. I want to believe that this day is not just an ending, but a beginning, a chance for us to reconnect, to rebuild what has been lost. But as I stand there, the applause ringing in my ears, my heart still aches with the question that lingers in the back of my mind. Will he ever truly understand? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The memories come flooding back, uninvited yet familiar, tugging at the corners of my heart. I can still hear the soft lullabies I sang to him during those sleepless nights. The way he'd curl up against me, his small body rising and falling with the rhythm of my voice. Those were the moments when I felt invincible, wrapped in the purity of motherhood, where every sacrifice I made felt justified. But then there were the days when joy was laced with struggle. I remember the excitement in his eyes as he prepared for his first school play, a little prince in a cardboard crown. I had worked an extra shift that week, yet there I was, in the front row, cheering him on, my heart swelling with pride. I wanted nothing more than for him to feel supported, to know that I would always be there, even if my world felt like it was crumbling around me. The day I lost my job, I could hardly comprehend the weight of that moment. The pink slip was like a dagger, cutting through the fragile fabric of our lives. I can still picture the kitchen table strewn with bills and the remnants of my hopes. But I didn't have the luxury of despair. I had a son to feed, dreams to sustain. I took on 2 more jobs, working late nights just to keep food on the table. What did I want for him? I wanted him to have opportunities I never had, to chase dreams without fear of failure. Each time I turned down a night out with friends, or a new dress I desperately wanted, it was for him. I became expert at saying no to myself, yet I felt invisible, as if my sacrifices evaporated into thin air, unnoticed. As I sit here, pen in hand, I realize he may never fully appreciate the weight of those sacrifices. He stands there at the altar full of promise and potential, unaware of the sleepless nights and the weary days that brought him to this moment. I wish he could see the love that shaped his life, the countless hours I spent making sure he had everything, even when it felt like I had nothing left to give. I take a deep breath and begin to write. Dear son, I start, my heart heavy with words, unspoken. I pour my soul onto the page, each letter a thread connecting my past to his future. I want him to know about the sacrifices, the late nights, and the dreams I wove into his very being. I write about the joy of his first steps, the way he stumbled yet smiled through the falls. I remember the first time he rode a bike, the thrill of freedom in his laughter, and the pride that welled in my chest as I cheered him on. Every milestone marked a piece of my heart, a testament to the love I've always had for him. But I also write about the struggles, the moments when I questioned my worth, when I felt like a ghost in my own home, invisible and unheard. I recall the times I had to say no, the sacrifices that became my shadow. I write about the late nights spent worrying, the quiet tears shed in the darkness, and the resilience I cultivated to keep our lives afloat. I want him to see me, I think, not just as his mother, but as a woman who fought fiercely for him. I want him to understand that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet moments, in the sacrifices made without fanfare. As I write, I realize this letter is more than just an explanation. It's a piece of my legacy, a way for him to glimpse the life that shaped him. I want him to carry it with him, to understand that every choice I made was fueled by love. I pause, staring at the page, my heart aching. Will he ever understand? Will he ever see the depth of my love, the weight of my sacrifices? I hope one day he will. I hope he will read between the lines and grasp the essence of my journey. The letter becomes a cathartic release, a way to confront my feelings of inadequacy. I confront the ghosts of my past, the doubts, the fears, the moments of despair that threatened to consume me. But woven through it all is an unwavering love, a love that persevered despite the odds. In writing this letter, I begin to understand that my worth is not defined by his perception. I am more than the sacrifices I made. I am a tapestry of experiences, a woman who fought for her son's future. I am proud of my journey, and though it may be filled with struggles, it is also filled with love. As I finish the letter, the final words flow from my heart onto the page. I love you, more than you will ever know. I fold the letter carefully, tucking it away in an envelope, a small piece of my soul sealed within. I hope that one day, when he reflects on our life together, he will understand the sacrifices made in silence, the strength in quiet resilience. I hope he sees the love that was present in every moment, even when it felt invisible. In my heart, I know this letter is not just a message to him. It's a reminder to myself, a testament to my journey, my struggles, and the unwavering love that defines me. As I close my eyes, I feel a sense of calm wash over me. I realize that while he may not fully appreciate my sacrifices today, the seeds of love I've planted will one day bloom into understanding. and that thought brings me a measure of peace. I stood near the buffet, the clinking of plates, and the cheerful laughter of my son and his friends swirling around me like a bittersweet melody. The room was alive with joy, but my heart felt heavy, weighed down by the sharp sting of his words from earlier. Useless. How could he say that on a day meant for celebration? I watched him, a radiant smile on his face, surrounded by people who adored him, and I felt a pang of loneliness. I'd poured my heart and soul into this day, sacrificed so much to give him the wedding he wanted, yet here I was, feeling invisible. The garlands hung above us, vibrant and full of life, while I felt like a ghost drifting through the room. The laughter echoed, and I took a breath, steeling myself. I could no longer stand by. I needed to confront him, to share my truth and reclaim my place in this moment. I approached him, my heart racing. "Can we talk for a moment?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He turned, surprised, his expression shifting from delight to confusion. "Sure, Mom. What's up?" I hesitated, the weight of my feelings pressing down on me. "It's about what you said earlier, about me being useless." He frowned, his eyes darting to the crowd celebrating around us. "I didn't mean it like that. It was just... It's a wedding, you know. Everyone is supposed to be happy." I pressed on, my voice trembling slightly. "But I'm not happy, Jason. Not when you dismiss everything I've done for you. I paid for this venue. Every last penny." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and charged. His surprise was palpable. "Wait, what? You did? I thought it was a gift from your friends or something." I felt a rush of emotions, anger, hurt, and a strange sense of vindication. "No, Jason, it was me. I made sacrifices, worked extra shifts just to make this day happen for you. I didn't want to burden you with the costs, but I wanted you to have your dream wedding." His expression shifted, confusion mingling with defensiveness. "But why didn't you just tell me? I didn't know. I thought you were just being, well, you know, not involved." I took a step closer, my heart aching with the need to be understood. Because I didn't want you to feel obligated. I wanted you to have the freedom to celebrate without worrying about money. I thought that was love, supporting you from the shadows. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his posture. "But it feels like you've been hiding from me, like you've been waiting for me to ask for help, instead of just being there when I needed you." I could see the turmoil in his eyes, the struggle between wanting to honor our past and forging his own path. I didn't want you to think less of me. I didn't want to be seen as just a provider. I wanted to be your mother, someone you could lean on without fear of judgment. He sighed, looking away for a moment as if he were searching for the right words. "But you were there, Mom. You've always been there. But I didn't see it. I thought you wanted to be distant. I thought you were just useless." I felt the sting of his words again, but I pushed through the hurt. "I understand, now that I should have communicated better. But I also want you to understand that my love for you is what drove me to do it all. I've always been your biggest supporter, even if it wasn't obvious." For a moment, silence enveloped us, the noise of the reception fading into the background. I could see the gears turning in his mind, the realization washing over him. "That's why I said what I did," he finally said, his voice softer. "I didn't appreciate the sacrifices because I didn't know they were sacrifices. It felt like you were just absent." I didn't connect the dots. I nodded, feeling a flicker of hope amid the tension. "We've both been absent in different ways. Maybe we need to find a way back to each other. To communicate. Really communicate. He took a deep breath, his gaze steady. You're right. I've been so focused on my own life that I didn't see how much you were doing for me. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to make you feel worthless. My heart swelled at his apology. But I knew this moment was just the beginning. Thank you for saying that, Jason. I want us to be closer, to understand each other better. It's never too late to start fresh, to rebuild our relationship. He offered a tentative smile, the kind that felt like the first light of dawn breaking after a long night. Can we try? I nodded, feeling a warmth spreading through me. Yes, let's try. Together. He reached out, pulling me into a hug that felt like a bridge being built between us, a connection forged anew. The laughter and music swelled around us, now infused with a sense of understanding and hope. As we pulled away, I caught sight of the decorations, the bright colors and joyful faces. I realized this wedding was more than just a celebration of love. It was a chance for me to redefine my role in Jason's life. Let's go join the others, he suggested, his smile brightening. I nodded, feeling lighter as we stepped back into the thrumming heart of the celebration. The past still held its weight, but now there was a path forward, a chance for growth, understanding, and love. The music played on, and for the first time that day, I felt like I belonged, like I was part of something beautiful. Perhaps, after all, I was not useless. Perhaps I was just beginning to discover my worth anew. I found a corner of the venue, away from the laughter and the clinking of glasses, where I could gather my thoughts. It felt like an eternity since my son had uttered those words. Words that cut deeper than any knife. You're useless. The weight of his rejection clung to me as tightly as the fabric of the gown I had chosen with such care. I had poured my heart and soul into making this day perfect for him, dreaming of his happiness as I arranged every detail. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds of celebration fade into a distant hum. I could still hear the joyful chatter. The music that once filled me with delight now felt like a cruel reminder of my apparent failure. What had I done wrong? A million questions swirled in my mind, each one sharper than the last. The memories of his childhood played like a slideshow in my thoughts, his little hands clapping with glee when I pushed him on the swings, his laughter echoing as we played tag in the backyard. I had envisioned him as a young man, full of potential, with dreams that reached beyond the stars. But today those dreams felt like shattered glass beneath my feet. I thought of the sacrifices I made, late nights working extra shifts, skipping meals to save for this day. I wanted him to have everything I never had. Yet here I sat, feeling invisible, as if my efforts had been erased by a few careless words. Why couldn't he see? The ache in my chest was a reminder of the journey I had taken to get here. I had always believed that being a mother meant being there, providing support, ensuring safety. But maybe I had missed something along the way. Maybe I had clung too tightly, expecting him to see my love reflected in my sacrifices. I shifted in my seat, trying to breathe through the pain. What does it mean to be a mother in a world that values success over love? I was no longer just a parent. I was a woman grappling with her identity. The world had changed so much, and I felt lost in its chaos. I thought of the mothers I knew, their children growing up too fast, chasing dreams that often left little room for family. Had I prepared him for this world, or had I sheltered him too much? A part of me wanted to rise and confront him, to remind him of all that I had done. But I knew that wouldn't bridge the gap between us. Maybe it was time to listen, to understand the man he had become, to see the world through his eyes. I had always envisioned him as my little boy. But he was a man now, trying to carve out his own path. Could I really blame him for wanting to distance himself from what he saw as my shortcomings? I thought back to our last conversation, his frustration spilling over, how he felt suffocated by my expectations. I had thought I was guiding him, but perhaps I was holding him back. The echoes of laughter drifted through the air, mingling with the sweet scent of flowers. I could almost see the joy on the faces of the guests, the sparkles of happiness in their eyes. I wanted to be part of that celebration again, to let go of this heaviness that threatened to drown me. But I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. Love is not one-sided. It requires understanding and compromise. It was time for me to reflect on my own actions and the legacy I wanted to leave behind. I had to find a way to express my love without it being a burden. What if I reached out? Not as his mother, but as a woman with her own dreams and fears. I had spent so long defining myself through him that I had forgotten to nurture my own identity. As I sat there, a resolve began to stir within me. I would not let this moment define our relationship. Instead, I would use it as a stepping stone. I could transform this pain into purpose. My heart ached not just for my son, but for the connection we had lost. I wanted to rebuild that bridge, to show him that my love was not a chain, but a lifeline. I could almost hear his laughter again, the way it used to fill our home with warmth. I wanted to remember those moments, to celebrate them, even amidst this struggle. That's when I realized love is worth fighting for. No matter how many obstacles lay between us, I would reach out. I would listen to his dreams, his fears, and show him that I still believed in him. I took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs, grounding me in this moment. I refused to let anger dictate my actions any longer. I would embrace vulnerability, allowing it to lead me to strength. With each passing second, I felt lighter, more determined. I would seek him out, not to confront, but to understand. I would share my heart and let him see the woman behind the mother. I would remind him of all the dreams we once shared, the hopes that had woven our lives together. As the music swelled, I stood and walked back towards the celebration, my heart steadying with each step. The laughter, the clinking glasses, the joy. It was still there, waiting for me. I was ready to rejoin it, ready to reclaim my place, not just as his mother, but as a partner in this journey of life. Every relationship has its trials, but perhaps this was just the beginning of our healing. I could only hope that he would see my heart, that he would understand the depth of my love. Would he be willing to meet me halfway? Only the time would tell, but I was ready to take that leap of faith, because love, after all, is worth every struggle. The music swells around me, laughter echoing through the air like a distant memory I can't quite reach. I stand amidst family and friends, observing the joy that fills the room. Yet I feel as if I'm encased in glass, a spectator to a moment that should feel intimate, yet feels profoundly isolating. I hear snippets of conversations, the clinking of glasses, and the warmth of shared stories, but they all seem to drift past me like autumn leaves in the wind. My heart is heavy, and my mind drifts to the countless sacrifices I have made over the years. Those late nights working 2 jobs, the missed opportunities for rest, and the dreams I tucked away to ensure my son had everything he needed. I remember the moments when I believed in his dreams more than he did, when I encouraged him to chase after what made him happy, even if it meant stepping back myself. Did I ever tell him how much I loved him? I remember a day when he was just a boy, standing on the edge of our backyard, his eyes gleaming with ambition as he announced he wanted to be an astronaut. I knelt down beside him, my hands on his shoulders, and told him, "You can reach the stars if you work hard enough." I saw the wonder in his eyes, the way he believed every word I said. I realize now that in my eagerness to prepare him for the world, I may have built walls instead of bridges. I take a deep breath, and the scent of fresh flowers and polished wood floods my senses, stirring memories of the past, memories of laughter at family gatherings, of tears during difficult times, of love that was supposed to bind us. Yet here I am, feeling more disconnected than ever. I've spent my life trying to show love through actions rather than words, and now I wonder if my silence has cost me more than I could have imagined. What if he never truly understood? I can feel the weight of regret settling in my chest. I was so focused on being self-reliant, on giving him everything he would need to succeed, that I might have forgotten to express just how proud I was of him, how deeply I cared. I remember the times I sat quietly in the background as he celebrated his achievements, always smiling, but never saying the words that mattered most. Around me, the conversations continue, filled with laughter and cheer, but I feel like a ghost at my own son's wedding, invisible and unheard. The joy is palpable, yet it amplifies my loneliness. I think of the venue, the beautiful space I painstakingly chose and paid for to make this day special for him and his bride. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know how hard I fought to give him this moment, how many dreams I sacrificed so that he could have the perfect day. I catch sight of him across the room, laughing with his friends, the man he's become so far removed from the little boy I once knew. He looks so happy, so full of life, and yet I wonder if he feels the distance between us. I see him raise his glass, a beacon of celebration, but all I can feel is the hollow ache of regret. I never wanted to be useless in his eyes. I want to speak to him. I want to bridge this gap that has grown between us, to share my heart and my truth before the night slips away. I can't let this moment pass without trying to reach him, to let him know that my love was always there, even if it was hidden behind my determination to raise him right. I weave through the crowd, my heart pounding, each step heavy with the weight of what I need to say. The music swells, a beautiful melody that somehow feels bittersweet. As I approach him, I can see the joy in his eyes, but I also see the flicker of something else, something I can't quite name. "Can we talk?" I ask, my voice barely above, a whisper, but it carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. He turns to me, surprise mingling with a hint of confusion. "Mom, now? It's the wedding." "I know, but it's important," I reply, my heart racing as I search his gaze for understanding. He hesitates, glancing at his friends, then back at me, and I see the flicker of impatience in his eyes. "Can it wait? We're celebrating." "No, it can't wait," I insist, a tremor in my voice that surprises even me. "Please, just a moment." He nods slowly, and I feel a glimmer of hope as we step away from the crowd, finding a quiet corner where the noise fades into the background. "I'm sorry if I'm ruining your night," I begin, my heart pounding in my chest. "I just need you to know how proud I am of you. This day, it's beautiful, and you deserve all the happiness in the world." He shifts slightly, crossing his arms, his expression guarded. "Thanks, Mom. But it's not just about that, is it?" I swallow hard, feeling the truth of his words. "No, it's not. I overheard what you said earlier, and it hurt. I don't want to be useless in your life. I've always tried to support you, to give you what you needed. But I realize now that I never really told you how much you mean to me." His expression softens, just a fraction, but it's enough to keep me going. I've spent so long trying to be strong, trying to show you that I could handle things on my own. But I see now that I may have pushed you away without meaning to. He looks at me, his eyes searching mine, and in that moment, I can see the boy he once was and the man he's become. "Mom, I didn't mean it like that. I don't know. I feel like I've had to prove myself, and I thought you didn't believe in me." "I always believed in you," I say, my voice trembling. "Maybe I didn't say it enough, but I've always been here, cheering you on. Even if I was silent, I wanted you to stand on your own 2 feet, but I'm realizing now that I may have kept my heart too far away." Silence hangs between us, thick and heavy with unspoken emotions. I can see him processing my words, and I feel a weight lifting just a little. "I didn't know you felt that way," he finally admits, his voice softer now. "I just thought... I don't know. I thought you were just always busy." "I was busy because I wanted to give you everything," I reply, my voice breaking. "I never wanted you to feel alone, and if I failed to show you my love, I'm so sorry. You've always been my greatest joy." He takes a moment, and in that silence, I can feel the walls starting to crumble. I guess I've been so caught up in my own world. I didn't think about how that might make you feel. I'm sorry, too. We stand there, the noise of the wedding fading away, and for the first time in a long while, I feel a connection, a bridge starting to form between us, built on honesty and vulnerability. "I don't want to let this moment pass," I say, my heart full of hope. "Let's promise to communicate better. I want to be a part of your life, not just a shadow." He nods, a smile breaking through. "Yeah, I'd like that." With that simple exchange, I realize that it's never too late to reconnect, to mend what's been broken. As we step back into the warmth of the celebration, I feel lighter, as if the burdens I carried for so long have begun to lift. And in that moment, surrounded by love and laughter, I finally understand. Legacy isn't just about what we leave behind. It's about the connections we nurture, the love we share, and the courage to be vulnerable, even when it's hard. The night continues around us, but for the first time, I feel truly present, ready to embrace the future with my son by my side. That evening, the silence of my home was almost deafening. I sat at my desk, the faint smell of lavender from my old candle filling the air, bringing back memories of happier times. The world outside my window grew dim, shadows dancing across the walls, much like the memories that flickered through my mind. I took a deep breath and opened a fresh sheet of paper, poised to bridge the chasm that had formed between my son and me. How did we get here? I thought. Just hours ago, I had watched him, my heart swelling with pride, until those harsh words cut through the moment like a knife. Useless. His voice echoed in my mind, heavy with disappointment. I couldn't shake the weight of his judgment, nor the truth behind it. I was not useless. I had poured my life into him, into our family. I began to write, letting the ink flow from my pen as freely as my thoughts. "Dear Jake," I wrote, the familiarity of his name bringing a warmth to my heart. "My dear boy," I thought. I wanted to remind him of the endless nights I spent working 2 jobs, the sacrifices that had become a routine in our lives. Each line I penned was a testament to my love, a love that had never faltered, even if our connection had. I remember the first time you rode your bike, I wrote, the joy in your eyes as you pedaled away from me, the wind ruffling your hair, your laughter ringing in the air. I recalled how I had run alongside you, heart racing, not just from the thrill of the moment, but from the fear of letting you go. I was terrified of what lay ahead, but I had to let you fly, to learn what it meant to fall and rise again. As I wrote, I felt the warmth of nostalgia wrapping around me, comforting, yet bittersweet. I recounted tales of us camping in the backyard, the stars sparkling above us as we shared stories. Do you remember those nights? I asked the paper. The way we would gaze up and imagine our lives. You wanted to be an astronaut, you said, to explore the universe, and I believed you could do anything, even when the world seemed to conspire against you. With each word I poured out my heart, unraveling the threads of our past, weaving them into a tapestry of love and sacrifice. I wanted him to know that his childhood wasn't just a series of events. It was a collection of moments that defined us. I worked hard to give you everything, Jake. I wanted you to have opportunities I never had. I wanted you to feel the freedom of choice, to chase your dreams without the burden of financial worry. I paused, the pen hovering above the paper, contemplating the silence that filled the room. How had he come to see me as useless? Was it the disconnect that had grown between us? The generational gap that seemed to widen with each passing day? I took a moment, allowing my thoughts to drift. I remembered his teenage years, filled with rebellion and a desire for independence. Perhaps I had smothered him, my love manifesting as overprotection. But I did it out of love. I reminded myself, again and again. Love that sometimes felt like a burden. Love that was often misunderstood. I wrote about the challenges we faced together, the financial struggles that threatened to tear us apart. You may not have known, but I sacrificed my dreams for you. I wanted better for you, believed that you would soar above the limitations that held me down. The act of writing became my refuge, a way to unburden my heart. I want you to know that I'm not angry with you, Jake. I'm hurt, yes, but I understand. The world you live in is different from the one I grew up in. I see the pressures you face, the expectations that weigh heavily on your shoulders. I admired his ambition, his drive, but I wished he could see the sacrifices that had paved his path. I continued, the ink flowing like a river of shared memories. You were my light, my reason to keep fighting. I watched you grow, transform from a curious little boy into a man with dreams and aspirations. I never wanted to stifle you. I wanted to uplift you. The room felt smaller, the weight of my words pressing down on me. I could feel the tension building within me, the desire to reach out and connect, to mend what felt irrevocably broken. I hope you can look back one day and see the love behind my actions. I hope you understand that I did what I thought was best for you. I took a moment to breathe, the air thick with emotion. This letter was more than an apology. It was a bridge to healing. I wanted him to see me, not just as his mother, but as a woman who had lived and loved fiercely. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but I've always loved you with all my heart. As I neared the end of the letter, I felt a surge of hope. Let's start anew, Jake. I want to build a future where we can communicate, where we can understand each other beyond the barriers of our differences. I signed my name, a simple act that felt monumental. It was a promise to myself and to him, a commitment to continue this journey of love, despite the misunderstandings that had clouded our relationship. With the ink dried, I folded the letter carefully, a tangible expression of my heart. I placed it in an envelope, my hands trembling slightly as I sealed it. This letter could be the turning point we both needed. As I placed it on the table, I felt a rush of emotion. I was ready to face whatever came next, willing to embrace the possibility of reconciliation. In that quiet room, with the weight of the world on my shoulders and the hope of a brighter tomorrow in my heart, I finally felt a sense of closure. I was not useless. I was a mother, a warrior of love, and I would fight for my son until my last breath. I woke up the next morning, the light streaming through the curtains, painting soft patterns on the walls. But it felt more like a spotlight on my heart, which was heavy with anxiety. Last night's words echoed in my mind. You were useless. It stung, sharper than I expected. And yet, beneath that sting, a flicker of hope began to emerge. It was a tiny spark, but it was there, urging me forward. I decided then that I wouldn't let fear keep me from reaching out to my son. I needed to deliver the letter in person, the one that held my truth, my side of our fractured relationship. As I moved through my morning routine, each action felt significant. I put on my favorite scarf, the one he used to say, reminded him of the warmth, of home. I brushed my hair slowly, each stroke a reminder of the years I had spent nurturing, not just him, but the dreams I held for both of us. What would he think when he read those words? Would he understand? I gathered my courage, knowing this moment could either mend the rift between us or create even more distance. I thought of all the late nights I spent working to provide for him, all the sacrifices I made that he might never know about. I wondered if he could ever see beyond my imperfections, beyond the mistakes I had made as a mother, to the love that fueled each decision I made. The world outside had transformed into a place where family values were often overshadowed by societal expectations. It was as if everyone was measuring worth with scales I never understood. How had we come to this, where love and sacrifice felt undervalued? I longed for him to see the deeper truths, the hidden stories behind the actions I took. In his life, as I drove to his house, my heart raced with every mile. The familiar streets felt both comforting and daunting. Memories rushed back, his first steps, the proud moments of his childhood, the laughter we shared over simple dinners. I wished to relive those times, to remind him of the bond we once had before the weight of the world twisted our connection. I parked in front of his home and stared at the door, my pulse quickening. The house was warm with life, but I felt like an outsider as I approached it. I knocked softly, each rap on the door resonating with the uncertainty in my chest. What if he didn't want to see me? What if he slammed the door in my face? But I had to try. I had to believe that love could bridge this gap. Moments stretched into eternity as I waited. Finally, I heard footsteps echoing from within. My breath hitched as I prepared for whatever would come next. Would he open the door with anger swirling in his eyes? Or would he see the love that had always been there, just waiting for the right moment to shine through? The door creaked open, and there he stood, a mix of surprise and confusion etched across his face. His eyes searched mine, and I could see the remnants of last night's harsh words lingering in the air between us. "Mom?" he said, his voice uncertain. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "I came to talk to you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I need you to read this." I held out the letter, my heart pounding as I did. He hesitated, glancing down at the envelope before meeting my gaze again. "What's this about?" "It's about us, our past, and everything I've never said out loud. I explained, my voice trembling with emotion. I need you to understand. He took the letter from my hands, and in that moment, it felt like I was handing him a piece of my heart. As he opened it, I felt the weight of years pressing in on me, and I prayed that the words I had poured onto the page would resonate with him. "Why didn't you just tell me this before?" he asked, his tone turning defensive as he scanned. The letter. There it was, the wall I had feared. "Because I thought you wouldn't understand," I admitted. "So much has changed, and I've spent years thinking I was failing you. I wanted to protect you from my struggles, but maybe I only succeeded in pushing you away." He looked up from the letter, confusion mingling with anger in his eyes. "You think I'd hate you for being human?" "It's not that simple," I replied, the lump in my throat growing. "I thought you'd see me as weak, as someone who couldn't provide you with the perfect life. But I did my best. I always did." His expression softened slightly, but the tension lingered. "It's hard to see that when you're just not there sometimes. Not there." The words hit me hard, a reminder of the times I missed important moments in his life. I know I wasn't always present, and for that, I'm truly sorry. But what you called useless last night, that was never the truth. You have no idea how much I sacrificed to help you get to where you are today." "I don't want to hear about your sacrifices," he snapped back, but I could see the cracks in his armor. "Then let me show you." I stepped closer, my voice earnest. "Let me share my story with you. Let's talk about how our lives shaped us, how love and sacrifice are often buried beneath the surface of our expectations." He stared at me, the fight slowly draining from his posture. "I just wanted a different life, Mom. I wanted you to be proud of me." "I am proud of you," I said, my heart swelling with pride and regret. "But it's not about perfection. It's about understanding, please. Let's not allow this moment to slip away. We can find our way back if we're willing to face the truth together." He looked at the letter, then back at me, the battle within him evident. "I just don't know if it's enough." "Wouldn't it be worth finding out?" We stood there, the air thick with unspoken words and emotions. I could feel the shift, the possibility of connection hanging in the balance, waiting for us to reach out and grasp it. When my son opened the door, I caught a flicker of surprise in his eyes, a fleeting moment that felt like a lifetime. The air between us was thick, heavy with unspoken emotions, as if we were standing in the middle of a storm. I took a deep breath, steadying my resolve, and handed him the letter I had written. "Can you read this when you have a moment?" He glanced at the envelope, then back at me, his brow furrowing slightly. The weight of my request hung between us, a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. I wished I could convey everything I felt through my eyes. The love, the hurt, the hope. I wanted him to understand. "I'll read it," he replied, his voice low, tinged with uncertainty. I could tell he was conflicted, caught between his memories of me and the anger that had bubbled to the surface at his wedding. We stood there, in the doorway, both of us afraid to venture further into the conversation. I could hear the distant sounds of laughter and music, remnants of the celebration we had both just come from, but it felt worlds apart. My heart ached with the realization that the joy of that day had been overshadowed by a single, harsh moment. "I just want you to know." My words faltered. The effort of saying them felt monumental. "I love you. I always have." He met my gaze, searching for something in my expression. Maybe he was looking for validation or perhaps just a hint of understanding. I could feel the tension simmering, the unresolved issues swirling around us like ghosts from the past. "I know," he finally said. But his eyes told a different story. They were guarded, as if he were afraid of what my love might bring. The silence returned, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. "I'll read it," he repeated, more to himself than to me, as if it were a promise he was struggling to keep. I nodded, feeling the vulnerability of the moment seep into my bones. I had poured my heart and soul into that letter, my regrets, my triumphs, my hopes for him. As I turned to leave, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I had taken a step, a small but significant leap toward healing. I was unsure how he would receive my words, or if they would even matter to him. With each step away from the door, I felt the distance between us grow, yet the act of sharing my feelings felt like a tiny crack in the wall that had formed over the years. It was terrifying to be vulnerable, but I had to believe it was a step in the right direction. As I walked down the familiar path leading away from his house, memories flooded back. Times when he was small, and I held his hand, the late-night talks filled with laughter, the moments of pride when he accomplished something new. Could those memories carry us through this? I paused for a moment, taking in the world around me. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden hues over everything, reminiscent of the warmth of our shared past. But the shadows of our recent conflict lingered, reminding me that healing would take time, effort, and perhaps more than just a letter. What if he chose not to read it? What if my words fell on deaf ears? The uncertainty gnawed at me, but I pushed it aside. I had done my part. I had shown up, ready to bridge the gap. As I reached my car, I glanced back at the house, a mixture of hope and fear swirling within me. I wondered if this was the beginning of a new chapter in our relationship, or just another page in a story filled with misunderstandings and pain. Would he understand the sacrifices I had made for him? The countless nights I had spent working, hard to provide him with the life he had, one he now seemed to take for granted? I felt a wave of emotion wash over me, a bittersweet mixture of nostalgia and regret. I could only hope that my letter would spark a conversation, that it would help him see the layers of love I had wrapped around my choices. As I slid into the driver's seat, I took one last look at the door, willing him to come out and talk to me. But the door remained closed, and I sighed, knowing that I had to let him process things in his own time. The road stretched out ahead of me, and as I drove away, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within my heart. The journey toward resolution would not be easy, but I believed it was possible. Would he ever come to see me not as useless, but as a mother who had always tried her best? I gripped the steering wheel, determination rising within me. I would wait. I would be patient. And perhaps one day, the love I had poured into, that letter would reach him, and we could begin to heal the wounds that had been festering for far too long. I spent the days following the wedding in a strange limbo, caught between hope and despair. My phone sat silently on the table, its screen a constant reminder of my son's absence. I could almost hear the echo of his words, "You're useless," reverberating in my mind. Each time I thought about it, the sting resurfaced, sharper than before. How could he not see the sacrifices I had made? My heart ached with the weight of unspoken truths. I wandered through our home, its walls filled with memories. The scent of fresh-baked bread wafted from the kitchen, a comfort I had always sought in difficult times. I remembered the afternoons I spent teaching him how to knead dough, the way his small hands mimicked mine, eager to learn. Those moments felt so far away now, lost in the shadows of misunderstanding. As I attempted to distract myself with baking, I found my thoughts drifting back to our relationship. There were days filled with laughter, like the time we built a makeshift fort in the living room, blankets draped over furniture, and pillows scattered about. I had been the hero of his childhood then. Why did I feel like a villain now? Sometimes I would sit outside on the porch, the sun casting a warm glow on the garden I had tended for years. I had cultivated each flower with love, just as I had nurtured my son. The hummingbirds flitted about, drawn to the vibrant colors, and I marveled at their resilience. They reminded me of the world outside, how it had changed so much since I was young. Communication today seemed so fast, so fleeting. I wondered if my son felt overwhelmed by it all, just as I sometimes did. The silence was deafening, and I sought solace in the activities I once cherished. I picked up my paintbrush, letting the colors flow onto the canvas, each stroke a release of the pent-up emotions. I painted landscapes from my youth, the soft rolling hills and the endless sky, trying to capture the essence of simpler times. But even as I painted, my heart was heavy with thoughts of him. Patience, I reminded myself. Relationships take time to mend, like a fragile vase that has shattered. I could not rush the healing. I needed to let the pieces settle, to allow space for understanding to flourish. I thought of the broader implications of my experience. Families everywhere struggled to communicate, to bridge the gaps built by generational differences. It wasn't just my son and me. It was a societal struggle, a dance of misunderstanding. I took long walks through the neighborhood, observing the families I passed. Parents and children, some lost in their phones, others engaged in deep conversations. I was struck by how often we were surrounded by people yet felt so isolated. I wondered if my son felt that way too, caught in a web of expectations and realities he was trying to navigate alone. One evening I stood at the edge of the garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. It was beautiful, yet I felt the familiar ache in my chest. I recalled the many sunsets we had shared, sitting on the porch, talking about our dreams and fears. Could we ever return to that place of openness? The days turned into weeks, and still, there was no word from him. I poured my energy into the community center, volunteering as I had for years. The laughter of children, the joy of helping others, provided a temporary balm for my heart. Yet even in those moments of joy, the thought of my son loomed large. I engaged in conversations with others, sharing my experiences, hearing theirs. It was in these exchanges that I found a sense of connection, a reminder that we are all fighting our own battles. I met a woman whose son had moved away, leaving her feeling abandoned. Another shared stories of estrangement, how time had eroded the bond with her daughter. We were all in this together, navigating the complexities of love and loss. One afternoon, as I sorted through books at the center, I came across a worn copy of The Art of Patience. I chuckled softly at the irony. Inside, the pages were filled with wisdom about waiting and understanding the journey of relationships. It spoke of how love isn't always perfect, how it requires nurturing, just like the plants in my garden. I closed my eyes, envisioning the roots of our relationship intertwining, sometimes tangled, but always growing. I began to write again, filling pages with my thoughts and reflections. It became a sanctuary for my feelings, a place where I could process my emotions without fear of judgment. I wrote about our history, the laughter, the tears, the moments of connection and disconnection. Each word was a step toward healing, a way to articulate the love I still held for my son, despite the hurt. In the quiet of night, I often found myself staring out into the darkness, wondering if he was thinking of me too. I replayed our conversations in my head, searching for clues, trying to grasp the essence of what had gone wrong. I felt a longing for reconciliation, a desire to reach out and bridge the silence. But I also understood that patience was not just about waiting. It was about allowing space for growth, for both of us. I needed to be ready for whatever response he might have, to embrace it with an open heart. This was a journey not just for him, but for me as well. As I continued to wait, I felt a subtle shift within myself. I was learning to let go of the weight of his words. They no longer defined my worth. I reflected on my life, my accomplishments, and the love I had given freely. I realized that I had poured my heart into everything I did, and that alone was a testament to my strength. In the quiet moments, I found clarity. My son's words, though painful, did not diminish the value of my contributions. I had invested in his future not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually. I had given him roots to grow from, even if he couldn't see them right now. With each passing day, I recognized the importance of transformation. I could not change the past, but I could shape my future. I began to visualize a world where we could communicate openly, where misunderstandings could be replaced with compassion. It was a world worth waiting for, a world where love could flourish once more. And as I contemplated these possibilities, I felt a flicker of hope. My son might not understand everything now, but perhaps in time he would. Maybe, just maybe, he would come to see the love that lay beneath my actions, the sacrifices that were made in silence. In that thought, I found my peace. As I knelt among the marigolds and daisies, the sun warming my back, my phone rang, slicing through the peaceful hum of the garden. I hesitated, the familiar thrill of anxiety bubbling up in my chest. It was my son. I could feel my heart racing as I answered, unsure of what lay ahead. Would it be more harsh words, or had he finally found a moment to reflect? "Mom," he began, his voice steady yet laced with an undertone of vulnerability. "I read the letter you sent." I sat back on my heels, my hands momentarily still, dirt clinging to my fingertips. "And," I pressed, trying to keep my voice even, though I felt the tremor of anticipation coursing through me. "It moved me deeply," he continued, and I could almost hear him take a deep breath on the other end. "I've been thinking about us, about everything." The walls that had stood between us for so long felt like they were beginning to crack. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've realized how much I took for granted," he confessed. "I thought you were just, well, useless. But I see now that I was blind to everything you did for me, for our family." The admissions hung in the air, heavy with unspoken regrets. I took a moment to gather my thoughts, feeling the weight of years gone by. "It's hard to explain, sweetie. I've always wanted to support you, to give you the best I could. But sometimes it felt like I was invisible." "I didn't know," he admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "I always thought you were too busy being, just my mom. I didn't see the sacrifices you made." I could hear the pain in his voice, and it mirrored my own. "I did it all for you, but I guess I never showed you how much it meant. To me. I wanted you to have everything." There was a long pause as we both breathed through the silence. I could feel the tension of unspoken words swirling around us, a whirlwind of emotions that had been pent up for far too long. "Mom, I've struggled with feeling like I'm not good enough," he finally confessed. "And I lashed out because I didn't know how to communicate, how to express it." "I understand," I replied, my heart aching for him. "I've struggled too. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could give you a life that made you proud. But maybe I should have focused more on talking to you, on being there in a different way. You don't realize how much your support meant to me, he said softly. When I think about the wedding and everything, I feel like I've let you down. I couldn't see past my own pride. My eyes stung, and I felt tears threatening to spill over. We both have things we need to work on. I've been stubborn, too, holding on to the past instead of embracing the present. I don't want us to be like this anymore, he stated, his voice filled with determination. Can we promise to talk more? To be open about our feelings? Yes, I would. Love that, I replied, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. I want to understand you, to be there for you in a way that's meaningful. I want that too, he said, and I could sense a shift in his tone, a glimmer of hope. Let's build a new foundation, together. As we continued to talk, the conversation flowed, a mixture of laughter and tears. We shared stories from our past, moments that had shaped us both, and I felt the distance between us begin to dissolve. I could see the man he had become, and I realized that our journey hadn't been in vain. It had led us to this moment of honesty. I remember when you taught me how to ride a bike, he reminisced, a small laugh escaping him. I thought I'd never get it, but you believed in me. I was terrified you'd fall, I admitted, chuckling. But you did it anyway. I just wanted you to know that you could overcome anything. That's what you've always done for me, he replied, the sincerity grounding us both in the present. You always found a way to encourage me, even when I couldn't see it. I took a deep breath, a wave of relief washing over me. I want to be that person for you again, no matter the distance or the misunderstandings. Let's not let pride get in the way anymore, he suggested. We can build something new. As our conversation came to a close, I felt lighter, a sense of renewal coursing through me. I love you. You know that, right? I said, hoping to solidify this moment in time. I love you too, Mom. Thank you for being you. The call ended, but the warmth remained, wrapping around me like the sun filtering through the leaves of my garden. I looked around, feeling the vibrant colors of my flowers reflect the newfound hope between us. A promise had been made, a commitment to nurture our relationship, to grow together. The power of love had begun to heal the wounds of our past, and as I stood there, surrounded by life and light, I couldn't help but wonder what the future held. Would this be the turning point we both needed? What would happen if we continued to open up and truly listen to one another? I stood in the kitchen, the familiar scents of rosemary and garlic enveloping me like a warm embrace. The sound of simmering pasta filled the air, mingling with the quiet hum of my thoughts. Tonight was the first of our planned family dinners, a simple idea that felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. My heart raced with anticipation, but also with a hint of trepidation. Would this really be a step toward mending the rift that had grown so wide between my son and me? I had spent the afternoon preparing his favorite meal, spaghetti with homemade marinara sauce, a recipe passed down through generations. Each chop of the garlic, each stir of the sauce, felt like an act of love, a reminder of the bond we once shared. Memories flooded back, the laughter around the dinner table, the stories exchanged over shared meals, and the warmth of family that had always been my anchor. As I cooked, I thought of our last encounter, the sting of his words still fresh in my mind. You're useless, he had said, the accusation cutting deeper than I could have anticipated. It was a moment fraught with pain, both his and mine. I had tried to explain the sacrifices I made, the years spent working multiple jobs to provide For him, the countless nights I lay awake worrying about his future. Yet, in that moment, all he saw was the distance that had crept between us, the misunderstandings that festered and grew like weeds in a neglected garden. But today felt different. Today we were embarking on a new chapter, one that I hoped would allow us to clear the air and begin to rebuild the bridges we had burned. I envisioned our dinner table, set with care, the plates glistening under the soft glow of candlelight, inviting and warm. I wanted him to feel the love I poured into every dish, to understand that my actions had always spoken, louder than my words. As the pasta boiled, I glanced around the kitchen, taking in the familiar sights, the well-worn wooden table, the collection of spices that had traveled through the years with me, and the old family photos lining the walls. Each image told a story, a snapshot of laughter and love, moments that reminded me of the resilience of family bonds. I placed the finishing touches on the meal, carefully arranging the spaghetti on plates and ladling the rich sauce over the top, the steam rising like a promise of warmth. I set the table, each fork and knife positioned just so, a small act of hope that tonight would be different. When the doorbell rang, my heart skipped a beat. I took a deep breath, smoothing my apron. As I opened the door, there he stood, my son, his face a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. I smiled, hoping to convey the love that still resided in my heart, despite the distance that had grown between us. "Hey, Mom," he said, his voice tentative. "Come in." "Dinner's almost ready?" I replied, stepping aside to let him in. As he entered, I noticed how he scanned the room, taking in the familiar surroundings. I could see the moment when recognition washed over him. The pictures, the smells, the comfort of home. "Wow, it smells amazing," he said, his eyes lighting up as he caught sight of the meal. "Just like old times," I said, trying to keep the atmosphere light. "I made your favorite," he smiled faintly, and for a moment it felt like the wall between us had cracked just a little. I led him to the table where I had poured my heart into every detail. As we sat down, I felt the weight of the silence. There was so much we hadn't said, so many emotions lingering in the air. I took a deep breath, breaking the stillness. "I know things have been tough between us. I want to understand what you're feeling, and I'd like us to be able to talk about it." He hesitated, his fork hovering over the food. I don't know how we got here, Mom. It feels like we're miles apart." "I know," I said softly. "But I believe we can find our way back. These dinners can be our starting point, a chance to share not just meals, but our thoughts and feelings too." He nodded slowly, his guard beginning to drop. "I guess I could try." The conversation flowed more easily as we shared stories and laughter, the delicious food acting as a bridge between our hearts. I listened as he spoke about his life, his struggles, and his dreams. I realized how much I had missed in his life, and how vital it was for both of us to reconnect. As the evening unfolded, I felt a sense of hope blooming within me. This was only the beginning, but it was a step. A commitment to growth, understanding, and love. I reached across the table, my hand brushing his. "I want you to know, no matter what I've done, I've always loved you. Everything I did was for you, and it will always be that way." He looked down, his expression softening. "I didn't see that before, but I think I'm starting to understand." In that moment, I felt a flicker of the bond we once shared igniting anew. It wouldn't be easy, but the journey toward healing was one worth taking. I realized that through this simple act of sharing a meal, we were re-establishing our connection, reclaiming our family legacy, one dinner at a time. the warmth of the dinner table wrapped around us like a comforting blanket, and I knew we were beginning to rebuild the bridges that had once seemed irreparably damaged. As he savored the last bites of his meal, I felt a surge of gratitude wash over me. Love, I realized, is not just something we say. It's something we do. And in that kitchen, with every dish I prepared, I was showing him that love was still alive between us, waiting to be nurtured back to life. It was just the first step, but I felt hopeful. Hopeful that our journey would be filled with more dinners, more conversations, and a deeper understanding of each other. This was our chance, and I was determined not to let it slip away. The kitchen was alive with the scent of rosemary and roasted garlic, the table set with care, each place adorned with my late husband's favorite blue and white china. I busied myself with the last touches, adjusting the flowers in the center, trying to ignore the flutter of nerves in my stomach. Today was not just dinner. It was a step toward rebuilding the bridges that had been burned. My son was coming over, and I hoped he would see me for who I truly was beyond the words spoken in anger. When the door creaked open, I turned to see him standing there, a hesitant smile breaking the tension in his features. Our eyes met, and I could see the weariness, in his gaze the weight of unspoken words. "Hey, Mom," he said softly, stepping inside. "Welcome home," I replied, my heart both heavy and hopeful. As he took a seat, I felt the warmth of the moment envelop us, the kind that holds the promise of healing. We began to eat. The food, a comforting balm against the sharp edges of our past. I watched him savor the flavors, and for a fleeting moment I felt a flicker of what once was. The laughter, the stories, the unguarded joy of family meals. "Remember when you tried to make spaghetti for the first time?" I asked, trying to coax a smile from him. He chuckled, the sound rich and genuine. "I think I ended up making a sauce that was more like soup." "More like a disaster," I teased, and he threw his head back, laughter spilling forth like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I was just trying to impress you," he admitted, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "Impress me? You could have just handed me a bowl of cereal, and I would have been happy," I said, my own laughter mingling with his. As the evening wore on, we shared stories, each one a thread weaving us back. Together, we spoke of family vacations, of his childhood dreams, and I let him in on the secret that I had kept too long, the stories of my own youth, the dreams I had once chased. I could see him processing my words, the walls of misunderstanding beginning to crumble. "Mom, I've been thinking about what I said at the wedding," he began, his tone shifting. I felt my heart race as I braced myself, ready for the admission I hoped would come. "I didn't mean it. I was caught up in the moment, and I didn't realize how much you've done for me." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I get it. Weddings can be overwhelming, but I wish you'd known that I've always been here for you, in ways that you might not have seen." He looked down, the weight of my words hanging between us. "It's just, I've been struggling to understand you, and I guess I thought I needed to prove something. I didn't know you paid for the venue." The admission hung in the air, heavy and raw. "You didn't need to prove anything, sweetheart. I wanted your day to be perfect. It wasn't about me." Silence settled, thick with unspoken truth. I could see him wrestling with his own feelings, the conflict of wanting to understand while grappling with the past. "Why didn't you just tell me?" he asked, his voice edged with confusion. "Because I thought you already knew. I thought you could see how much I cared." We fell into a contemplative silence, the food left forgotten as we navigated this new territory. I could feel the shift in our dynamic, the realization that we were both learning to communicate in ways we hadn't before. "I guess I just assumed you were always going to be there," he said quietly, his vulnerability echoing in the room. "I didn't see how hard you worked to make things happen for us." A wave of emotion washed over me. It felt like a release, the dam of misunderstandings finally breaking. "I've always believed in you. I wanted you to have everything you deserved, even if it meant sacrificing my own dreams." He met my gaze, and I could see the flicker of understanding igniting within him. "I'm sorry for what I said. It was wrong." "I've forgiven you," I assured him, my voice steady. "But it's going to take time for us to rebuild what was lost. We need to talk, to be honest with each other." "I want that," he said, his sincerity palpable. As we resumed our meal, the conversation flowed with a newfound ease. I shared stories from my own childhood, tales of resilience and determination, of how I had fought against the currents that sought to drown my dreams. He listened intently, his eyes reflecting both curiosity and admiration. "You were brave," he said, a note of wonder lacing his voice. I had no idea. "And you are brave too, in your own way," I replied, the pride swelling within me. Life has its way of testing us, but it's how we respond that defines us. With every passing moment, I felt the distance between us shrink. The dinner table became a sacred space, a place where we could both lay down our armor and be vulnerable. I realized that this meal wasn't just about food. It was about nourishment of the soul, a celebration of the potential for growth and reconciliation. As we cleared the table, I caught a glimpse of the man he was becoming, an empathetic, thoughtful soul who was beginning to see the value of family and legacy. I felt a swell of hope, a sense that perhaps we were on the brink of something beautiful. "Can we do this again?" he asked, his voice soft but earnest. "Absolutely," I said, my heart full. This is just the beginning. The warmth of the evening lingered long after he left, the echoes of laughter and shared stories wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I realized that while healing takes time, it is in moments like these, moments filled with honesty and connection, that we lay the foundation for a stronger tomorrow. The plates were cleared away, and the remnants of our celebratory dinner sat, scattered like the pieces of our lives, both beautiful and chaotic. I glanced across the table at my son, the man I had watched grow from a little boy into a husband. He was deep in thought, his brow furrowed, and I could feel the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. "I never really understood you, you know," he began, his voice low but steady. "Growing up, I just thought you were, well, useless. I thought you didn't care about what I wanted or what I needed. I felt a pang in my chest, a mix of hurt and confusion. Useless. I worked hard every day to provide for you. Every sacrifice was made for you to have better opportunities. I wanted to give you everything I didn't have." He shook his head, slowly, the regret in his eyes almost palpable. "But it never felt like that. I was caught up in this idea that success meant money and status. I thought you didn't understand that. It's what society teaches us," I replied, my hands trembling slightly as I clasped them together. "We're told that our value comes from what we achieve, how much we earn. I spent my life fighting against that narrative, trying to teach you that love and connection matter more. I wanted to show you that family is more than just a name or a title." He took a deep breath, and I could see the gears turning in his mind. "But I struggled with feeling like I was enough. I thought if I didn't have the best job, the fanciest car, I was failing. I didn't realize that my worth isn't tied to those things. I recalled my own struggles, the years of trying to make ends meet while raising him alone. I get it, sweetheart. I faced those same pressures. The world makes it seem like you need to check off boxes to be worthy, but I've learned that it's the love we give and receive that defines us. The connections we foster are what truly matter. He looked down at his plate, the reflection of the soft candlelight dancing in his eyes. I wish I had known that sooner. I wish I hadn't let those expectations drown out your voice. It's never too late to change how we see things. Every moment is an opportunity to redefine what success means for us. It's not about the grand gestures, but the little moments, like this one. I gestured around the table, the remnants of our shared meal, a testament to our time together. I've been so focused on what I thought I needed to achieve that I neglected what was really important. Being present, being connected. He looked up, his gaze meeting mine with newfound clarity. I never understood the sacrifices you made. You paid for everything, the venue, the flowers, even the food tonight. I didn't see it until now. I smiled gently, a warmth flooding my heart. And I didn't do it for recognition, but out of love. I wanted this day to be special for you, to give you the foundation you needed to build your own life. I wanted you to feel supported, not suffocated by expectations. As he listened, I could see the barriers between us beginning to crumble, brick by brick. Do you think we can move forward differently? He asked, vulnerability lacing his voice. Can we redefine what it means to be a family? Of course, I replied, my heart swelling with hope. It starts with understanding each other. We have to communicate openly, share our fears and dreams without judgment. It's about being there for each other when the world feels heavy. He nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing a bit. I want to be better. I want to understand you, and myself, more deeply. Then let's promise to keep this dialogue alive. Life will keep changing, and so will we. But if we communicate, we can navigate the changes together. I promise, he said earnestly. I never want to feel lost or disconnected from you again. I reached across the table and placed my hand over his. You're not alone in this. I'll always be here, ready to listen, ready to share. The warmth of his hand enveloped mine, and in that simple gesture I felt the weight of years of miscommunication lifting. It was as if the air had cleared, and we could finally see each other for who we truly were. As we sat there, exploring the depths of our thoughts, I realized the true meaning of legacy wasn't found in material things, but in the relationships we build and the understanding we foster. Do you remember when I took you to the park every Saturday? I asked, a smile creeping onto my face. You used to beg me to push you higher on the swings. He chuckled, the sound lightening the mood. Yeah, and you always said I'd fly if I went high enough. I thought you were just being silly. I meant it. I wanted you to feel free, to believe that you could reach for the stars and land among them. That's what I want for you now, to feel free to pursue your dreams, whatever they may be. We both fell silent, caught in the reflection of our shared memories and dreams for the future. The room was filled with a sense of promise, a new understanding that we could carry forward. I can't promise that I won't struggle again, he said finally, but I promise to share those struggles with you. I want us to be partners in this journey. Me too, I whispered, my heart full. Let's embrace the messiness of life together. It's all part of the journey, after all. As the last of the candlelight flickered, illuminating our intertwined hands, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. This was a new beginning, one grounded in empathy, love, and the promise of open hearts and minds. In that moment, I knew we were embarking on a path of deeper connection, one that would shape not only our relationship, but also our understanding of what it meant to live fully and authentically. We had taken a step towards healing, and it felt monumental. In the weeks that followed the wedding, I found a new rhythm to my life. Each Sunday evening became a sacred space, a time for my son and me to gather around a table, our laughter filling the air as we explored new recipes together. The kitchen transformed into our sanctuary, the scent of garlic and herbs mingling with the warmth of our shared stories. I remember the first time we attempted to make homemade pasta. Flour dusted our clothes, but the joy in our eyes was unmistakable. "Mom, I can't believe you've never made this before," he exclaimed, rolling out the dough with enthusiasm. "I guess I was always too busy," I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude for this moment. I finally felt seen, not as a burden, but as his partner in culinary exploration. Each dinner became a canvas for us to paint the memories we had missed, his childhood tales, my struggles as a single mother, and the lessons of resilience I had learned along the way. I shared with him how I'd navigated the complexities of life, the sacrifices I had made, and the immense love that fueled my every decision. He listened intently, his eyes reflecting a newfound understanding. "I never realized how much you went through," he admitted one evening, a hint of remorse shadowing his features. "I'm sorry for how I treated you at the wedding." "It's okay," I reassured him, my voice steady. "We all have our moments. What matters is how we move forward." It was in these moments of vulnerability that I saw the cracks in our past begin to heal. We were no longer just mother and son. We were allies, navigating the complexities of our relationship together. As our weekly dinners unfolded, I felt a growing sense of purpose blossoming within me. It was as if the love we were rekindling illuminated the corners of my heart that had long been shrouded in doubt. I began to reflect on my own journey, the sacrifices I had made for him, and the love that had sustained me through it all. One evening, while washing the dishes after a particularly spirited dinner, I thought about how those sacrifices had shaped who I was. Each decision, every challenge, had woven a tapestry of resilience that I could now share with others. That's when I decided to start volunteering at the local community center. I could no longer sit on the sidelines, watching as others struggled with their own family dynamics. The first day at the community center was overwhelming. The walls were painted a bright yellow, filled with art made by the children who visited. The air buzzed with laughter and chatter. I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as I stepped inside. "Welcome," a cheerful voice called out, pulling me from my thoughts. A woman with an infectious smile approached me. "I'm Sarah. We're so glad you're here. In the power of community." Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "That's what we're all about. We focus on family support and helping those in need. You'll fit right in." As the weeks passed, I found myself immersed in the work. I facilitated workshops on communication and conflict resolution, drawing from my own life experiences. I shared my story, the pain of feeling useless, and how that moment at my son's wedding had ignited a fire in me to create change. The participants listened, some wiping away tears, others nodding in recognition of their own struggles. "Your story resonates," one young mother said after a session. It gives me hope that things can get better with my own family. Every time I heard that, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I realized that my journey was not just about me anymore. It was about the legacy I could leave behind. As I poured my heart into these workshops, I saw the faces of those around me light up with understanding and empathy. My bond with my son continued to deepen, and our dinners became a sacred tradition. One night, while enjoying a simple meal of roasted chicken and vegetables, my son looked at me with a contemplative expression. "Mom, do you think it's too late for me to change?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Never," I replied firmly. "We're always capable of change, no matter our age or past mistakes. It's about taking that first step." He nodded, absorbing my words. I could see the wheels turning. In his mind, the gears of transformation beginning to turn. With each passing week, I learned more about forgiveness, not just for him, but for myself. I began to realize that we were all products of our environments, shaped by our experiences and choices. I could let go of the weight of the past, embracing the present and the potential of the future. One sunny Saturday, I suggested we take a trip to the local farmer's market, something we had enjoyed together in his childhood. As we wandered through the vibrant stalls, I marveled at the colors and scents surrounding us. "Look at these tomatoes," I exclaimed, picking up a plump red one. "Let's make a caprese salad tonight." He smiled, the joy of our shared experiences evident in his eyes. "You know, I used to think you were just a nag," he said teasingly. "But now I see you as my partner in crime." I laughed, a sound filled with genuine happiness. "I'll take that as a compliment." As we filled our basket with fresh produce, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for this new chapter in our lives. We were forging a bond that would withstand the trials of life, built on love, understanding, and shared experiences. Volunteering at the community center became a lifeline for me, a way to connect with others and to remind myself of the importance of family. I discovered stories of resilience from individuals who had overcome immense challenges, and I found strength in their narratives. One afternoon, I met a young woman named Mia, who had recently lost her mother. Her pain was palpable, a raw wound that she wore on her sleeve. I listened as she spoke about her struggles with grief, feeling a deep connection to her story. "I don't know how to move forward," she confessed, tears streaming down her face. "I feel lost." "You're not alone," I said gently. "I've been there too. It's okay to feel lost. It's a part of healing. Just take it one step at a time." As I spoke with her, I realized that my own journey was intertwined with hers. Our stories, though different, shared a common thread of resilience and hope. The bond between my son and me continued to grow stronger, and I cherished the moments we spent together. One evening, as we prepared dinner, he turned to me with a serious look. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about change. I want to be better, for you and for myself." I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. "I'm proud of you," I said softly. "It takes courage to want to change." With each shared meal, each conversation, I felt the weight of my past lift. I realized that we were not just healing individually. We were healing together, creating a legacy of love and understanding that would ripple through generations. As I sat in the community center one afternoon, surrounded by laughter and warmth, I felt a sense of belonging that I hadn't felt in years. I had transformed my pain into purpose, my heartache into hope. "Mom, can I bring a friend to dinner next week?" my son asked one night, excitement lacing his voice. Of course. The more, the merrier, I replied, my heart swelling with pride. In that moment, I knew that our journey was not just about mending our relationship. It was about building a community, fostering connections, and inspiring others to embrace their own stories. As I reflected on the roads we had traveled, I understood that the real gift was not just the meals we shared, but the lessons we learned along the way. We were crafting a narrative of resilience, of love, and of unwavering hope for the future. In nurturing our bond, we had inadvertently cultivated a garden of empathy and strength, and I felt more alive than I had in years. I had found my voice, my purpose, and most importantly, my family again. I sit by the window, the gentle rays of the afternoon sun pouring in, casting a warm glow over the room. It's been a journey, a winding path of misunderstandings and heartache, but today, I see the beauty in our progress. My son and I have come so far. The words he once hurled at me, filled with anger and hurt, no longer define our relationship. Instead, we've forged a bond that feels like a delicate dance, one of respect, understanding, and an ever-growing love. I think back to that day at his wedding, the sting of his accusation still fresh in my mind. "You're useless," he said, not knowing the sacrifices I made to make that day possible. I paid for everything, the venue, the flowers, the memories that would be etched in his heart forever. But it wasn't just about money. It was about love, about the dreams I had for him, for his happiness. It was a love that I hoped he would one day understand. Now, as I reflect, I realize that this journey is not just ours, but a legacy I want to leave behind. I grab a notebook from the table, the pages filled with my thoughts, my feelings, and the stories that have shaped us. It's become a way to preserve our story, a testament to our struggles and victories. Each word I write feels like a step toward healing, not only for me but for anyone who might read these pages in the future. I think about the lessons learned along the way. Communication, how vital it is in bridging the gap between generations. I remember the silence that often filled our home, the misunderstandings that grew like weeds in a garden left untended. I want to write about those moments, those times when I felt invisible, unheard. And then, the breakthrough conversations, the laughter that replaced tears, and the warmth of a hug that spoke volumes. As I pen down our experiences, I want to emphasize the importance of empathy in family dynamics. I recall the nights I lay awake, worrying about whether I had done enough as a mother, whether my efforts would ever be recognized. I want to share the moments of doubt, but also the moments of triumph. The first time he called just to check in, the way his eyes lit up when I surprised him with his favorite meal. Those experiences became the building blocks of our relationship. The memories flood in, each one a brushstroke in the canvas of our lives. I think about the family dinners, the holidays filled with laughter, and the occasional argument that ended in an embrace. Each event left its mark, shaping who we are today. I want to capture those memories, not just for myself but for him, and for any future generations who might look back and see the resilience in our story. Writing these reflections feels like a balm to my soul. It's cathartic, this act of putting pen to paper, of transforming my pain into something meaningful. I want my son to know that while he may have felt lost in anger that day, I have always seen him, his potential, his dreams, and the man he was destined to become. I remember the first time he called me from college, his voice a mixture of excitement and fear. "Mom, I'm struggling," he admitted. In that moment, I was reminded that even the strongest among us can falter. I didn't have all the answers, but I listened. I offered my love, my support. I want to write about the importance of that phone call, of how it reminded us both that we are human, that we all have our struggles. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. I pause, letting the beauty of the moment wash over me. This is what I want. Moments like these, where the world feels still, where love can flourish. I want to document the beauty of forgiveness, how it can be a bridge back to each other. Each lesson learned is a thread in the tapestry of our lives, and I want to weave a story that speaks to resilience. I think about all the families who may feel fractured, who may wonder if healing is possible. I want them to see that love can heal even the deepest wounds, that it can bring us back to each other, even when we feel like we're worlds apart. With every word I write, I feel a sense of hope rising within me. I want to end this narrative not in sadness, but in transformation. I want to show how love, when nourished with understanding and patience, can grow into something beautiful. It's not just our story. It's a story for anyone who has ever felt lost, for anyone who has ever doubted their worth. The path hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth it. I think of the future, the legacy I want to leave behind. I want my son to know that he is loved, that he is strong, and that even in our darkest moments, there is always a flicker of light. I want future generations to read these words and understand the power of love, the kind that transcends anger, the kind that binds us together. As the last light of day fades, I close my notebook, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over me. I've captured not just our story, but a piece of hope. I look out the window, watching the stars begin to twinkle in the darkening sky, and I can't help but smile. What will the future hold for us? Only time will tell, but I am ready to embrace it, to continue writing our beautiful, messy, and inspiring story together. The sun filtered through the tall windows of the venue, casting warm golden rays that danced across the tables, adorned with laughter and joy. I stood at the edge of the room, taking in the vibrant scene before me. Just a year ago, this place had echoed with the sounds of a wedding, where I had felt invisible, my heart heavy with the weight of unrecognized sacrifices. Today, however, it felt like a new beginning as I watched my son, his laughter ringing out like music. I couldn't help but smile. He was surrounded by family, the next generation of our lineage, children running around, the older ones sharing stories and laughter. It felt like a tapestry woven with threads of love. I remembered how alone I had felt at his wedding, how the words he had spoken had pierced me deeply. "You're useless." Those words had haunted me, but now, standing here, I felt a surge of pride. What had I been to him then? A mere shadow, a forgotten figure. I had spent years nurturing him, providing for him, believing in him. I had sacrificed so much, and yet, in that moment, I had been reduced to mere background noise at the most important day of his life. "Mom!" His voice snapped me out of my reverie. He approached, a glass in hand, his smile radiant. "Let's toast." I took a deep breath, my heart swelling with emotion as I joined him. I held the glass, feeling the cool weight of the crystal against my palm. "To family," he began, his eyes glimmering with sincerity. "To love and resilience. To family," I echoed, my voice steady but thick with emotion. "And to the bonds that hold us together, even when we've drifted apart." As we clinked our glasses, I could see the sincerity in his eyes, a depth of understanding that hadn't been there before. It was as if all the years of pain and misunderstanding had melted away, leaving only clarity. Perhaps he finally saw me. Perhaps he finally understood. The surrounding chatter faded into the background as I focused on him. "You know, Mom," he said, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "I've been thinking about everything you've done for me. I never really appreciated it until now." His words washed over me like a balm. "I did what any mother would do," I replied softly, feeling tears prick the corners of my eyes. "But I'm glad you see it now." "I was young and foolish," he admitted, his expression turning serious. "I didn't understand the sacrifices, the struggles. I just wanted what I wanted, and that's okay," I assured him. "It's part of growing up." As we stood there, a wave of laughter erupted from the children playing nearby, their joy infectious. I glanced around, taking in the scene. The dancing, the stories being shared, the warmth of family gathered together. Each moment was a reminder that love endures, that family bonds can be mended, and that memories are what shape us. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he remarked, gesturing to the gathering. "It is," I agreed, my heart swelling with pride. "Seeing the family together like this, it reminds me of all the good times we've shared." "Do you think we can have more of these moments?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. "Absolutely," I replied, feeling a flicker of hope. "We can build new memories, ones that honor our past while embracing the future." As the evening wore on, we shared stories of our past, reliving moments that had brought us joy and pain alike. Each tale was a stepping stone, bridging the gaps that had formed between us. I could see the transformation in my son, not just in his words, but in the way he looked at me, as if he finally understood the weight of love and sacrifice. The younger generations began to gather around us, drawn by the warmth of our conversation. "What are you guys talking about?" one of the kids asked, their innocent curiosity sparking a new wave of laughter. "Just some family history," I replied, smiling at the eager faces before me. "Stories of resilience and love. Tell us," they urged, their eyes wide with anticipation. As I began to recount tales of our family's history, I felt a surge of purpose. This is my legacy, I thought. The stories would live on, passed down through the generations, weaving the fabric of who we are. "Did you really pay for the whole wedding?" one of the teenagers asked suddenly, breaking the momentary silence. I chuckled softly, the memory bittersweet. "Yes, I did," I said, glancing at my son. "It was important to me that he had the best day possible, even if I didn't feel included." My son shifted uncomfortably, his gaze dropping. I'm sorry for what I said," he murmured, the weight of his earlier words hanging heavy between us. "I didn't know. I was so caught up in my own world." "I know," I replied gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "But that's the beauty of family. We can learn and grow from our mistakes." As the night deepened, we danced, sang, and laughed together. The venue, once a place of heartache, transformed into a sanctuary of love and acceptance. I watched, my son, surrounded by family, and felt an overwhelming sense of closure. This was the new chapter, one where we could forge ahead with understanding and compassion. As I looked around at the faces of my family, I realized that love is a force that can heal even the deepest wounds. I pulled my son into a hug, whispering, "No matter what, I love you." "I love you too, Mom," he replied, his voice steady. And in that moment, surrounded by the laughter and joy of family, I knew our journey had only just begun.